r/AskReddit. What's generally the dumbest thing you've done as a child? Parents wouldn't let me have a dog. Being the little problem solver I was, I proceeded to stare into the sun to try and blind myself so I wouldn't need a guide dog. It didn't work. But I got a dog. Edit. Just for clarification, when I meant it didn't work I was referring to blinding myself. I did something similar. For whatever reason, I really wanted glasses. So, I stared at the sun for like an hour and then told my mom I couldn't see. One optometrist appointment later, my mother was absolutely furious with me. And my eyes were dilated, which makes everything weird. Oh well, accidentally stabbed myself in the eye in high school, so I have glasses now. When I was about 4-5 my mom was talking to my granny on the phone. It was one of those handheld phones on a square thing, and she was in a room that wasn't close to the wall so had brought the whole phone with her. Honestly, I think I just wanted to see what would happen. It was a science experiment to me. So I took a pair of scissors and just cut the cord. I remember my mom continuing to talk for a few seconds, to stop and say, "Hello? Hello?" before she came out to see me standing there with a pair of scissors in one hand and the end of the cord in the other. It wasn't that dumb in terms of what kids do, but it was like I had an epiphany that I had the ability to do some very dumb things. I had a similar impulse when I was a kid. I was probably 5 when I managed to get a pair of scissors. I distinctly remember looking at the couch and thinking, I wonder what happens if I cut that. Turns out that when you use scissors on a couch cushion, you cut the couch cushion. Realizing I was in for a world of trouble and completely unable to explain myself, I flipped over the cushion. Parents kept the couch forever and I had to play ignorant when I was about 12 and they finally found the evidence of my crime. School ended and I saw my older sister take off in her car. Tried screaming to her to give me a ride home but she didn't hear me. I started walking home and I saw her driving around and threw my book bag at the car to stop her. Smashed the windshield. She wasn't happy. Not me, but I accidentally tricked my younger brother into smacking a cactus. I don't remember how old we were, maybe 3 and 5, but I remember we started talking about how a cactus hurts when you touch it. I told him that I could touch the cactus without getting stung. I kept moving my hand really quickly next to it to make it look like I touched it. He watched in amazement as I touched the cactus. But then he gets this puzzled look on his face. Next thing I know, he swings his hand back really dramatically, and then proceeded to slap it like it did him wrong in a past life. For a brief moment, we sat in awe. His hand looked like he high-fived a porcupine. He looked up at me with this bitter look of betrayal, and started screaming. I felt really bad, but I could not help laughing at how fucking dumb it was. Edit. Holy moly, this blew up. Thanks for the silver/gold random Samaritans. Edit 2, I never realized how common cactus dumbfuckery was until now. I once grabbed a cactus to see if it would hurt. It did. Proceeded to try and wipe the pricks out on my trousers. Had to wake up my parents screaming. Dad told me to wake my oldest brother, who then spent 20 blurry-eyed minutes picking them all out. Never really thanked him for that. I set fire to our family's garage door at 9 years old. If it were not for a neighbor, our house would be gone. I threw a firecracker into the toilet. I was told that the firecracker would have extinguished. It didn't and we had to change it. Called my mother a cunt cause someone in my class told me it's a password for sweets, aged 6. Pre-internet my bestie learned the word dildo on the bus but neither of us knew the meaning and her mom refused to tell us until she called her mother a dildo head in church. Pushed in the cigarette lighter in the car. When it popped out I looked at it and saw it red hot. Figured I'd stick my thumb onto it to feel it. When I was maybe 7 or 8, I was at my grandmother's house playing outside. I found some rope and was trying to think of what I could do with it involving a tree in the front yard I always used to climb. Light bulb. I'll tie the rope around my feet, throw it over a branch, then pull on it with my arms until I was basically hanging horizontally so I could lay down while hanging from a tree. So I did just that, and realized pretty quickly my arms would get tired holding the rope. So what was I going to do with the rope? Another light bulb. I'll tie the other end of the rope around the other end of me, also known as my neck. So I started looping the rope around my neck. It worked for a minute or so, but then finally my stomach muscles got tired and I folded in the middle so my butt hit the ground. With the rope firmly tied around my feet and wrapped around my neck. Also known as now choking me. Luckily my grandmother was curiously watching the whole situation unfold from the front door and walked out and unwrapped the rope. She still tells that story about watching me do all this. Edit. My first silver was from hanging myself as a child. Sweet. I imagine her opening the front door slightly as she watches you start tying the rope around your feet before stopping herself, thinking, no, wait. Let's see how this plays out. She crosses her arms and settles in for the show. I was about 4 or 5 years old. I was wondering why my new set of pajamas didn't have a flap in the front for my penis like my other pajamas. So I decided to make one. One morning, at the breakfast table, I took a knife and stabbed myself in the crotch. Don't worry, I missed everything important and emerged unscathed. But I sure scared Mom. Edit. Wow, my first gold, and all I had to do was stab myself in the crotch. Thank you, kind stranger. The song Holly Jolly Christmas commanded me to drink a cup of cheer. Cheer is a detergent. I drank a cup of cheer. Thank you Poison Control for existing. Had one of those Barbies with a heat-sensitive hair that changed color depending on whether it was hot or cold. My older sister told me to use the freezer or a hairdryer to change it, depending on what I wanted. Naturally when I was on my own I thought, fuck the hairdryer, the microwave will heat it. I had my little brother play vacuum cleaner with me, okay that sounds wrong, where we sniffed the floor and pretended to be vacuum cleaners. He ended up getting a giant bead from an old-fashioned pearl necklace stuck in his nose and he had to go to the ER to get it out. Also had my cousins and brother run backwards, with me down a dirt, rocky driveway and my cousin fell and broke her wrist. Also had to go to the ER. I think the few dumb things I did typically affected other people more than myself. Sue. My brother and I also cried and threw a tantrum at Walmart when the new big Care Bears were out in a bin by checkout. We each wanted one. Badly, apparently. We had seen on TV that they were magical and basically cured you and made you all happy. Our parents gave in and bought us one each. It seems like they were like $15 each, which would have been expensive for us back then, BFF. Now they'd probably have been $50. When we got home we had already lost interest in them because they clearly didn't work like the TV said they did. I still apologize to my mom about it to this day. I blame marketing. False advertising to children. I'm going to sue the Care Bears and buy my mom a nice house. Got in the deep freezer while playing hide and seek. I thought it was the perfect spot, because no one would think to look there. Luckily they did, or else they would have found a 5-year-old's frozen body next to the turkey next time they opened it. Edit. While very much tragic, please stop sending me the article about the 3 Florida kids who died. I've had 40+ people already send it. Kinda similar story. My friend used to work at a restaurant and accidentally got locked in the deep freezer. Obviously, she was freaking out. She told me she started to Google how long it would take for her to die in the freezer. Luckily, someone opened the door in the next few minutes. As she was telling the story, I asked, why didn't you just call the restaurant and ask them to let you out? She kind of just stared at me with this confused look. Then, I said, you said you were Googling stuff, so I'm assuming you were using your phone. Apparently, calling the restaurant never occurred to her. She was in her early 20s at the time, SMH. Edit. A lot of you guys are pointing out that freezers have to have a way to open it from the inside, which is what I thought too. I'm guessing that my friend didn't see it, didn't know how to open it, or went straight into panic mode once she realized she had been locked in. I am also seeing comments about how there usually isn't cell reception in freezers. I think she may have been connected to Wi-Fi, but I don't really know if that gets affected once you go into a freezer. I wanted to know what light tasted like, so I licked the light bulb and ended up with a burnt tongue. Microwave noodles. In a metal pot. Stuck my finger in the power outlet. And again and then again. I think I might have a fetish. I was 5. I wanted to stay in my parents' room because that's where I loved staying the night. They said no and wanted me to sleep in my own bed for once. I wonder why. Me, being the bright little 5-year-old I was, decided that I needed to make them think that staying with them was best for my safety. I told them that there was a guy climbing the car outside my window. I guess I thought they would satisfied with simply taking me back into their room. Boy was I wrong. Very soon, we had a number of cops on our property with flashlights. To my 5-year-old memories, the whole SWAT team was there with dogs and guns. Who knows how many cops there really were? Maybe 2 or 3. The point is, I got to stay in my parents' room that night. I told them the truth about 13 years later. Thanks for listening and getting this far. I hope you all enjoyed, and remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed.